From the outside, their life looked flawless. A grand African mansion always lit up with golden lights, luxury cars parked neatly in the driveway, and every celebration hosted within those walls turned into a story for the society pages. Guests in modern African gowns and designer suits flooded their ballroom. Laughter and applause echoed under shimmering chandeliers. Cameras captured every moment of the billionaire's charm and his wife's beauty. Together, they seemed to represent perfection, a couple blessed with wealth, influence, and love. Yet behind that glittering image, a storm was silently destroying one half of the pair. His wife was the symbol of grace. She wore her gowns with elegance, her jewelry sparkling under the spotlights, her smile flawless whenever the cameras turned her way. But when she walked away from the crowd, when she stepped into the shadows of empty corridors or balconies, her mask broke. Her trembling hands would clutch the railings, her carefully painted makeup would run down her cheeks, and her eyes, once filled with admiration for the man she married, would brim with silent tears. Nobody noticed. Not the guests, not the cameras, not even the man she shared her life with. Every celebration ended the same way. With her breaking down, unseen and unheard. It wasn't a single night's weakness. It was a pattern. Year after year, event after event, she repeated the same performance. At birthdays, when golden balloons filled their halls, she would walk away mid-celebration, tears spilling in private. At charity galas, when applause rose for her speeches, she would excuse herself quietly and vanish into silence. Even at anniversaries, when fireworks painted the night sky, she could not hold her smile for long. Each time the music grew louder, her soul grew quieter. Each time the spotlight shone brighter, her heart sank deeper into darkness. The billionaire, meanwhile, lived in blindness. He was a man who conquered boardrooms, who built empires from the ground up, who knew how to read contracts, markets, and people's ambitions with sharp accuracy. He noticed every number that mattered to his wealth, but not the pain that hollowed his wife's eyes. His days were spent making deals, shaking hands, and chasing power. His nights ended with him returning late, kissing her forehead absent-mindedly, and collapsing into sleep without ever noticing the tears that had stained her pillow moments before. He was present in the world but absent at home. To him, success meant providing everything money could buy. To her, love meant needing what money could never touch. The illusion began to crack during one of the grandest nights of their lives. It was their 10th wedding anniversary, a celebration designed to be unforgettable. The mansion glowed brighter than ever. The finest musicians played live. Guests danced in modern African outfits tailored for the occasion, and the hall was filled with roses and golden drapes. The billionaire, dressed in a perfectly cut tuxedo, raised a glass in the middle of the ballroom and praised his wife before hundreds of witnesses. Cameras flashed as he declared her his queen, his partner, his joy. Fireworks lit up the sky as people cheered and clapped. To everyone watching, it was the perfect love story, but perfection was an illusion. As the applause thundered around her, the billionaire's wife felt her chest tighten. Her forced smile began to shake. She whispered an excuse to slip away, and once again she escaped into the cold night air. On the balcony, away from the music and the lights, she sank into a chair, and the tears she had been holding back all evening poured out. Her shoulders shook, her mascara smeared, and her sobs drowned out the distant rhythm of the drums. The grandest celebration of her life became the heaviest weight on her soul. For the first time, however, she was not alone. An elderly black African woman, draped in a golden headwrap and flowing attire, had followed her quietly. She had seen what nobody else had cared to notice. Placing a gentle hand on the young wife's shoulder, the woman whispered words that pierced deeper than any blade. She told her that pain hidden too long would one day destroy her completely, that storms cannot be buried under gold, and that if her husband did not open his eyes soon, both of them would drown in the silence. Those words struck like thunder. The wife lifted her tear-streaked face, stunned that a stranger could see what her own husband never did. For a long moment, she stared through the glass doors of the balcony at the ballroom inside, where her husband was laughing, drinking, and basking in the praise of the crowd. He was still blind, still unaware that his partner was breaking apart just steps away from him. Something shifted within her that night. For years, she had drowned silently, hoping someone would notice, hoping love would one day break through the noise of wealth and status. But hope had become chains, and silence had become poison. That single whisper from a stranger sparked a new resolve in her heart. She wiped her tears, straightened her gown, and stood tall against the cold night wind. Her pain had not vanished, but for the first time, determination rose within her. And so, the illusion of perfection began to crumble. The cracks in their seemingly flawless life widened. Behind the applause, behind the golden lights, behind the fireworks, a storm was preparing to tear through the empire they had built. She would no longer drown in silence, and he, the man who thought he had everything, was about to face a truth he had ignored for far too long. The night of their 10th anniversary was not just another celebration. It was the beginning of a transformation. It was the night when her breaking finally carried a voice, and the night when destiny prepared to open his eyes. The night of their 10th anniversary marked the beginning of a quiet storm. While the guests danced under chandeliers and the billionaire laughed with his companions, his wife returned to the ballroom with eyes that no longer carried silent surrender. She had wiped her tears, but something inside her had changed forever. For years she had endured in silence, but now the whisper of an elderly stranger had planted a seed of courage. That night, for the first time, her heart whispered, no more. The following days appeared ordinary to outsiders. The billionaire left for his offices each morning in polished suits, chauffeured cars waiting outside the mansion gates. His meetings continued, his empire expanded, his presence commanded respect everywhere he went. To him, life was steady, prosperous, and secure. But at home, subtle cracks began to show. His wife no longer forced the same smile at dinners. She no longer stayed at the table waiting for him to finish his late-night calls. She moved through the mansion with grace, but her silence grew heavier, sharper, and unignorable. One evening, he returned home earlier than usual. Expecting to find his wife resting, he instead heard faint sobs echoing from the balcony. He froze at the doorway, realizing it was not the first time, only the first time he had actually heard it. For years her pain had been hidden in plain sight, and he had been too blind to see. That sound struck him harder than any business failure ever had. For the first time, the billionaire's confident steps faltered. He approached her slowly, unsure of what to say. There she sat, her elegant modern gown slightly crumpled, her hands covering her face. When she finally noticed his presence, her tears didn't stop. Instead, she looked at him with eyes that held years of unspoken sorrow. He had never felt smaller in his life. The silence between them was suffocating. He had always been a man of speeches in public, but in that moment, words abandoned him. All he could whisper was her name. She shook her head, her voice trembling as she asked a single question that pierced his heart. "Do you even see me?" That question haunted him through sleepless nights. In meetings, during calls, even as his wealth continued to grow, those words echoed in his ears. "Do you even see me?" For the first time, he realized how blind he had been. He had given her houses, cars, jewels, and the most extravagant celebrations, but he had never given her what mattered most: his presence, his attention, his heart. The turning point came weeks later at another celebration. This time, a charity gala filled with laughter and speeches, where once again she slipped away from the lights. But this time, the billionaire followed. For the first time, he did not stay with the crowd. He found her in the quiet corridor, standing alone, staring at the city lights outside. She didn't hide her tears anymore. She didn't force a smile. She simply turned to him, waiting to see if he would finally notice, and he did. In that silence, he saw the years of pain she had endured. He saw the emptiness hidden behind her elegant gowns. He saw the cracks in the perfect image they had built. And with tears forming in his own eyes, the man who once believed himself unshakable finally broke down. He reached for her hands, his voice breaking as he confessed his blindness. For the first time, he admitted that money had made him deaf to her heart, that pride had made him blind to her tears. That night, there were no cameras, no applause, no fireworks. Just two souls, raw and vulnerable, finally standing face to face with the truth. She wept in his arms, not from weakness, but from release. He wept because he finally understood the cost of his neglect. And in that quiet corner, the billionaire made a vow not to give her more wealth, but to give her himself. The transformation was not instant. Healing never is. But from that night onward, changes began to show. He came home earlier. He put away his phone at the dinner table. He listened more than he spoke. Their conversations, once rare and shallow, grew deeper and warmer. Slowly, the silence that had drowned their marriage began to lift. For the first time in years, celebrations felt different. At their next anniversary, when the music played and the lights glowed, the billionaire stayed close to her side, his hand holding hers with quiet strength. She did not slip away into the shadows that night. Instead, she leaned against him, her smile genuine, her laughter real. The guests noticed the change, though they could not name it. What they saw was not just wealth, but connection. Not just success, but love rediscovered. And so, the story of the billionaire's wife who broke down after every celebration became something else entirely. It became the story of a man who finally opened his eyes and a woman who found her voice. It became a reminder that love cannot survive on luxury alone, that wealth cannot replace presence, and that the most valuable gift one can give is to truly see and be seen. The storms in her heart did not vanish overnight, but she no longer carried them alone. And he, for the first time, understood that the empire he had built meant nothing without the woman who had stood by him all along. Their mansion still hosted grand parties. The chandeliers still sparkled. The cameras still flashed. But now, behind every smile captured on film, there was something real. For the first time, perfection was not an illusion, it was presence, understanding, and love. Moral of the story: true love is not proven by grand celebrations, glittering wealth, or endless gifts. It is proven in the quiet moments when we choose to see the tears behind a smile, to hear the silence hiding pain, and to be present when it matters most. The greatest riches are not found in empires or mansions, but in a heart that is truly understood and cherished.